Welcome to the Compass Method, powered by Purpose and Plants, where science meets soul and thriving begins when you find your true north. Hosted by Dr. Yolanda Rivera-Caudill, a double board certified physician, mother of three, and founder of the Tiny Beat Lifestyle Medicine and Pediatric Clinic, and
Chelsea Dye, a certified lifestyle medicine coach, wellness strategist, and creator of Alchemist Untamed. This show brings the real science to real life, powered by our passion project, Purpose and Plan.
Each episode explores how small shifts in food, movement, mindset, and family life can create massive results. Together, Dr. Yolanda and I share a compass for better life, a grounded guide to plant-forward health, brain-body balance, and modern motherhood.
From pediatric wellness and family health to neuroscience, nutrition, and mindset mastery, we will help you pause with a purpose, align your habits with your values, and rediscover what it means to thrive.
Powered by Purpose and Plants, because thriving begins when you're powered by Purpose and Plants. Hello, and welcome to the Compass Method. I'm Chelsea Dye.
And I'm Dr. Yolanda Rivera-Caudill.
And together we bring you Purpose, Plants, and the Science of Realignment. We are here today to talk about a really important issue and bring some levity to it, some fun and some brightness. Taste the Rainbow is our topic, and we are diving into the importance of diversity, color, and what it means for your gut. Beyond just the belly, going into the brain and every part of longevity. So are you ready for a fun episode?
Yes, I hope you learned something and you can put it to use right away.
So we hear a lot about the gut these days, and it's actually a big topic that is of great importance, and there's been a lot of research around it recently, but there hasn't been a lot talking about the really simple things that we can do to nourish our gut. And Taste the Rainbow, actually adding diversity, is one of the most simple, basic, maybe not simple, but basic things that you can do to enhance your gut health.
And it's at the tips of most people can do the things that we're going to recommend. And it's like when I talk about kids, tasting the rainbow, finding different colors for what you eat is an easy way to describe it, but it helps adults too. You want to be sure that you look at colors in your plate, and different colors have different properties, and we're going to talk about that.
Yeah. Well, before we go dive a little deeper onto this, we really need to talk about the data and statistics. So 95% of the American population is fiber deficient. And might we add that not protein deficient? There's been a lot of conversation around protein. 95% of the population is fiber deficient. That means only 5% of you are out there getting enough fiber. And that is 4 fruits, 3 vegetables. 5 servings of fruits and vegetables according to the new 2026 dietary recommendations. Although that is still
like that.
Yeah, it's still
like
low.
Yeah, it's very low, but it's been the recommendation.
Right, that is the recommendation. However, we need to stop in our tracks and think about that. So just the basics of adding everyday fiber is missing for most people.
Yes, including kids, especially adolescents. They're the worst because they can buy their own food, and then those are the ones that are more deficient in fiber.
Well, and I think we also, if you've caught any of our recent episodes, we've talked a lot about highly processed food and ultra-processed food. Over 60%, between 55 and 60% of the American population gets the majority of their or over between 55 and 60% of the calories consumed by the average American are from ultra-processed food, which is if you're if you're having ultra-processed food, you're not typically having the fiber and the things that actually feed your gut. So even if something says added fiber on the label, I think we have to be really wary of that, because that does not mean it's necessarily good for you. It means that it's filled with a whole bunch of processed things, and then they add a little bit of fiber in there just to be able to incorporate it on the label. So let's go down to the really basics of the microbiome, and understanding how our gut works is really important to understanding this conversation in general.
When I was in, one of the things that I loved in high school was biology. And one of the things that made me love biology the most was the ecosystems. And knowing that the ecosystem is something that we have in our gut is so interesting. So in an ecosystem, one thing benefits, one organism benefits from another one. And just like in outside ecosystems, we benefit from the plants. And the plants are the one that feed our array of bacteria and viruses and a lot of organisms, trillions of organisms that we have in our gut.
So let's stop. Trillions of organisms are in our gut working to benefit us. And we need to think about that. That gives me an extra appreciation for how amazing our bodies are. They are really amazing. And especially if we treat them well, they're even more amazing. So the microbiome helps protect the gut lining. It regulates inflammation, supports immune defense, and influences the efficiency of our body to deal with stress and absorb nutrients. So the importance of it cannot be underscored enough.
Yes. And this is why one of the things that we promote, not we, but because the studies have shown that just 30 plants, just think, and it's, again, easy to do as a family, make it fun, 30 plants that you can consume in a week. And it's so easy. This is something that everybody should be counting instead of counting calories, instead of counting other things. Count plants. How many plants did I consume this week? And herbs count.
Yeah.
Spices. It doesn't have to be a lot, but is variety. You want to have different ones.
So adding even 1 to 2 per day to what you're already having, because you and I are both a big proponent of crowding out. So the idea of elimination, especially because food tends to be an emotional trigger for so many people, that when someone tells you to take something away, so often there can be a rebellion. Well, even if you're an adult, whether you're a child or an adult, there can be a rebellious reaction. And so if you're really adding things in and crowding out, there's a better chance of success. So
it's just so much easier to add than subtract, and we've said that many, many times.
Well, and so we have got a little cornucopia of choices here, and this is just the very beginning of this Tasting the Rainbow. But you see we have a variety of different herbs. We have sage. I'm worried that I'm going to ruin this little display, but we have sage, which is so aromatic, and just a little goes a long way. You can make sage pesto. It can be put in soups. We've got rosemary and thyme here. Garlic, which is actually, we'll talk about this in a moment, is a prebiotic, which feeds the good gut bacteria that's already in your gut. Lentils, the same. A squash here, which is delicious and nutritious and colorful. So we've got some colors going on here, and these are just some ideas as to what herbs that you can add, and that doesn't even account for spices. So, let's talk a little bit more about fiber, and I touched on it, but protein is the topic that everyone, especially after these new dietary guidelines have been released. There's a big conversation about protein, but what's missing is the conversation that is maybe a little old school, but it's about fiber.
You can have it both ways. That's for example, lentils. There's a good example that you can have the protein and the fiber all in the same package, and it's very affordable and easy to do, and there is a variety of things that you can do. So this is a great example of how you can have it both. You don't have to have one or the other. If you have a huge piece of steak, you have more protein than you probably need in the whole day with that piece of steak. But now you can have fiber. It makes you fills you up, and it feeds your bacteria. They're going to be really, really happy to have that as well. So that's a good example.
So let's talk about short-chain fatty acid and the beneficial bacteria in fiber that feeds short-chain fatty acid. If you want to give us a little, doctor, a little science lesson on short-chain fatty acid, and then we can talk about how fiber plays a role in that.
Well, you eat the plant, and you eat the bacteria inside of their ecosystem that we have. We're talking about the ecosystem. This is exactly what it is. These bacteria will eat let's talk about the lentils. I ate the lentils. It went to feed XYZ bacteria. Those YZ bacteria are going to help to produce something that is called short-chain fatty acids. And that short-chain fatty acid is how they benefit us. It's not just when we feed our bacteria with fiber, it's not for us, it's for the bacteria. So when they are fed and happy, they release the short chain fatty acids that are their superpowers. It goes into our bloodstream and it goes all the way into our system, but it's just, the brain.
Yeah.
It benefits so much from that.
So we think about serotonin, and recently there's been a discovery that so much of the serotonin is produced in the gut, and over up to 90%. So we think about what we're feeding are the good gut bacteria. What we feed our mouth feeds our gut, and then thereby impacts not only our brain but our mood. And that's one thing that it's not like it's that far removed. It's really kind of the idea that you could have such a dramatic positive or negative impact by the foods that you eat. Yeah, exactly. We are what we eat, that old adage.
Yes.
So, some powerful things behind what fiber does for us is it stabilizes blood sugar. So, I think that if you enjoy sweets on a regular basis, being mindful about when you consume your sweets and making sure you have nutrient-dense fiber prior to that to be able to absorb and stabilize the blood sugar. Fiber helps with feeling satisfied, satiety.
Yes. And it helps you feel, because you're more satisfied, you might not feel that you have to eat any other things. And because the release of the insulin is a slower process when you're eating the fiber, it helps to regulate the sugar.
Yeah. So even, talking about the comparison of like a white bread versus a wheat bread or a whole grain bread, we can think about the fiber in the whole grain bread can help to stabilize our blood sugar. And then it supports bowel health. I mean, I think we all know it. You don't feel good if you've not gone to the bathroom. So that's super important. And so many people deal with this as an issue on a regular basis.
Yes.
So just adding that extra fiber is...
I'm testimony. I'm a testament to that.
Well, I mean, if you want to just say a little bit, if you're comfortable about your experience when you went plant forward or plant based.
Well, yeah, I don't know. I'm comfortable. I don't know how many people are comfortable to hear that.
I mean, this is real life, right?
But when we talk about fiber, I mean, one of the things that most gastroenterologists, I mean, all of them like to talk is about poop. And this is part of, and for the kids, it's part of our body. What we eat, what urine, everything is part of our system.
Yeah.
So I lived with constipation all my life. And it wasn't until I started eating more fiber that I got better. It got better and I became regular and I felt so much better. I had no idea that was possible. And because everybody had constipation in my family, probably because we all ate the same thing, for generations, I thought this is something that it was familiar. And this is a very big misconception too. Everybody in my family has, for example, diabetes. And I'm going to have diabetes because everybody has diabetes. But doesn't everybody have diabetes because they're eating the same diet too?
Oh, I mean.
So genes have a little bit, I mean, of that, but it's not the majority. The majority is environmental.
Exactly. And, going back to what you said, you started adding more fiber. No, you went plant-based.
Yes.
And so,
eventually, yes.
Yeah. And so, Dr. Yolanda's journey was that she started to add more plants, which by default, when you add more plants, you end up getting more fiber, whether you like it or not.
Yes.
Intentionally or not. If your goal is to add more diversity, then that's exactly what happens.
And it's interesting because for years, doctors didn't give much credit to the fiber because they thought this is going to be wasted. This is food that it goes to the toilet, literally.
Yeah.
But they were missing the part that it is not for me, it's not for us. Is for the bacteria. And this is exactly what we eat fiber.
Well, and, let's talk about why color matters. Tasting the rainbow, like that was an old saying, an old jingle from Skittles, which is kind of horrifying. Now, that's how that tells you my generation. That I hear taste the rainbow, I think about Skittles, but really it's about the diversity in our diet and making sure that we're having a variety. So let's talk about some of the nutrients that are in different colors and why it's important. The deep greens, I think we all know that the deep greens should be a mainstay in our diet.
Every day.
Yes.
Every day. I mean, we don't like to buy, and this is one of the things that we're going to say, that it's not picking one food over another, is, again, the variety. But greens should be something that we all have every single day. Those deep green
Well,
leaves.
and there are many ways to incorporate them into your diet, even beyond. You can have sauteed spinach if you don't like it raw. You can throw it in a smoothie. It can be put in a salad. There are so many ways. A little goes a
Yes.
long way, and diversity when it comes to greens is important as well. So having a variety, not just having spinach every single day. Maybe trying
Yes.
a dinosaur kale. Maybe trying. A watercress, that's my favorite kind of salad, watercress, maybe an arugula. There's just a lot, and it doesn't mean if you don't like
Just
one.
a handful. Just
Yep.
get a handful. I
So-
like to eat more than a handful, but we start with a handful.
Exactly. Folate, magnesium, nitrate, and chlorophyll. Chlorophyll is so powerful for our cells.
Oh, these
And-
phytonutrients.
Yes.
And folate, important for women that are pregnant, for example. It's very important nutrient for the baby's brain development. And then
Orange.
carotenoids.
Um,
Carotenoids are so powerful that, and I remember that happened with my son. He was eating a lot of sweet potatoes and I don't know, things that there were maybe squash and stuff. He became orange. And then I was like, I think we're going to need to cut a little bit on that.
Oh, yeah.
The skin became orange, but that wasn't something bad. It's just how it gets deposited in the skin, too.
Yeah, well, and if you want a more natural tan, maybe some carrot
There you
juice
go.
and some
It
carrot
does.
soup.
Yeah,
And,
there you go.
Yeah, exactly. And then red foods. This is something that, red berries and beets.
Yes.
Beets are wonderful. Think of some other red plums. Reds are not peppers. That's great. That's another red food.
Tomatoes.
Yeah, lycopene, tomatoes, right? Lycopene, and I think we know that tomatoes are actually really well. You may not know tomatoes are amazing for your skin, but then also excellent for your eyes as well.
Yes.
So, purple foods.
Purple and antioxidants. The thing is that all these colors, blueberries, they have the power is in the color itself. And it's because of somewhere along the line, apparently they were not good for us in terms of they were like an irritant and the body, because the plants produce these things to defend themselves. And is that property that makes them so strong that helps us, our immune system, and help with those nutrients. So
if you caught our episode on stress, we talked a little bit about positive and negative stress. And so follow me on this. Sometimes the powerful foods that we eat, even like hot peppers and ginger, and think about acai, which is really powerful. It's got a really potent flavor, and it might have a little bit of a chemical reaction in your body, which elevates your immune system. It kicks your immune system into high gear so that you can improve your immune function. But that is just exactly what Dr. Yolanda is talking about, that those powerful compounds, the ones that give them the really potent colors, are the ones that actually make our bodies sing and our guts sing.
and the spices, they're so good because you don't need they're concentrated power. You don't need a lot. The same thing as fermented foods. You don't need a lot to have a lot of benefits to your body, and that's why addition, other than subtraction, instead of subtraction, you want to add a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Let me see what it's gonna taste. Experiment, play with it, and you didn't like it. You didn't like it. Try another one, but don't give up because you didn't like. For example, lentils, you didn't like them as a soup, but try it as a
Burger.
meatball,
Yeah, right.
a burger. So not meatball, but yeah, or actually you can add them to the regular meatballs if you make them at home or the regular burger. You can add that, and you're enhancing the nutritional value of that burger, even if you do it with regular meat.
Yeah. And, vascular support, I think we know that these things are really good for our heart as well. So it's our
Absolutely.
gut. It's our gut, but what's good for the gut is good for the heart. What's good for the gut is good for the brain.
They're all-
and for, to combat inflammation. And that's one thing that we hear about a lot these days is inflammation. And so this is all powerful in order to
Yes.
keep inflammation at bay and even lower inflammation, because any positive choice you make can have it takes as little as 2.5 days for your gut microbiome to start
you can start
for the positive or negative.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Either direction.
So once again, to mention some really nutrient-dense fruits and vegetables: berries, squash, avocado, greens, lentils, beans.
And it can be frozen too. For example,
yes.
sometimes getting fresh berries might be expensive, or they're out of season and you can find them. If you find them, one thing is you can freeze them, or you can get them frozen, and you still get a lot of benefits. And again, you can get them, thaw them, or eat them like that, or put them in a smoothie.
Yeah.
The sky's the limit.
And that's really an important thing, that I think there are so many people that are all or nothing, that if I can't go to the grocery store or the farmer's market and get it fresh and perfect, then I'm not going to do it. I'm going to throw away the baby with the bathwater.
Yes.
And we're all about, one little step is a step in a positive direction. And to your point, keeping frozen vegetables, even if it doesn't seem like your ideal, means that on those lazy nights when you feel like, or days when you feel like I don't have anything in my house to cook, you at least know you have a stir fry of mixed vegetables that's frozen that you can throw into a wok, and
Yes.
and then you're getting some diversity,
Yeah.
right?
I'm smiling because I remember you mentioning that when the avocados are going bad, we got a bunch of avocado because I bought, and my husband too, and I were like, it's only the two of us.
I know.
So I remember you said put him in the freezer.
Yeah.
Oh, I've never thought about that, but
Right.
yeah,
So just so you know, the tip is to scoop them out and dice them. Scoop out the meat and take the pit out and dice it. Put it in some sort of container. You can even put it in like ice cube trays, so they're kind of compartmentalized, and you can dig them out when you need them. Throw them into sauces, make them into puddings, put them in smoothies. There's lots of ways to use them, and that's like when they're on the cusp. And don't forget, don't store your bananas and your avocados next to one another, because they'll both ripen so much faster. That's one thing I think people...
Unless you want them to.
Yes, unless you want them to. So let's talk a little bit about the gut-brain axis. That's also been a hot topic these days, and the vagus nerve that connects the gut-brain axis.
Yes. And I think everybody has experienced that connection of the brain and the gut, because we've all been nervous. You're nervous here and you feel it in your stomach, or the other way around. Your stomach, when I had a constipation.
Oh, yeah.
I felt really, really bad on my brain. And then it usually happened that it was more for my tests. So it was not helping because the stress was making everything worse.
Yeah.
So there is a connection, and we didn't know, and there is a highway called the vagus nerve, and connects the brain and the gut, which is, again,
and this vagus nerve, we'll have a graphic for you as well in the show notes. But this vagus nerve really connects all of the major organs and runs from the brain all the way to the base of the core. So it's pretty obvious as to why we feel those brain gut sensations in all of our organs. And it signals our immune system, our hormones, our metabolites. This vagus nerve is so important.
And this is physiology, it's the way we're made. So when you start feeling that connection, when you start making that connection, oh my goodness, why am I feeling, why can I think well, or whatever, you start thinking, this is the way the brain is designed, and start thinking, what did you do, what did you eat, and start making mental or physical notes and see what can you learn from that. When I ate this thing, it made me feel When I ate this other thing, it made me feel so good. And that's how you can start learning about the power of the foods.
Yeah, and I think that's a really important thing. I have ADHD, and part of what made me, part of what changed everything was being able to acknowledge that diversity and strategic eating was really important for my brain's ability to focus. Not necessarily what I eliminated, although I did eliminate sugar and still to this day don't have processed sugar. I love fruits and things like natural sugar. However, I found that, just as you said, when you start to pay attention to the cues, it's super important to know that I have to be fiber and fat forward, positive fat forward in the morning, and that will set me up to have success throughout the day. And if I don't do that, that's sort of a recipe for disaster. So I'm really aware of that. And so notice when you're not feeling fantastic, when you're feeling anxiety, when you're feeling anxiety, notice what you ate, what you did, the stress you were enduring beforehand. And then, what disrupts your gut the fastest?
The biggest disruptor is chronic stress, or stress in general, but chronic stress is worse because it's long term. But one of the biggest thing is it disrupts just at the brain level and at the gut level, which is why it's so bad. So you learning what are your triggers is so crucial, and that's why we always insist on the pause and just get to know, because sometimes you're in the hamster wheel and you don't realize what's causing. You're just reacting to the next thing. But when you pause and say, this makes me stress and this affects me, that makes me eat more junk food, and how can you stop that cycle, even if it's just adding more berries in the morning, and you can start from that, for example.
Well, and that's the food forward model, is not that food is everything, because catching yourself in the stress cycle is really important, the power of that pause, but knowing that the movement that you make, the simple lifestyle medicine principles, which is what we teach on, what we educate our community and our partners on, is so important. But the food component is one that you can move the needle really quickly when it comes to helping to alleviate stress by nourishing yourself really well, moving your body, and then also catching yourself when you're starting to get into that loop. Because when you have a positive diet, it's easier to take a step back, Yes.
And then, again, thinking, because a lot of people think all of nothing, or, I'm not going to be changing my diet to eat all this, whether it's because I cannot afford it or whether it's because I don't want to change what I'm doing. But just do an experiment and see what happens if you do every day a little bit of this, a little bit of that. The next day you do something different, and just see what happens. That's how I started, and it was it was such a nice surprise that I was definitely not expected to feel so good.
Yeah.
So I wish everybody can do the experiment with themselves.
And then highly processed food, that's one thing that we touched on, but that's a huge challenge when it comes to our gut. And just as we said, if you're eating the highly processed food, the chances are you're not eating the fiber and the things that are so important for your gut. So limiting those, if you don't, what my adage is, or my advice is, if you don't buy it, and if it's not in your house,
out of sight, out of mind.
Exactly. And, if you know you're going to go into an environment where you'll be tempted by all of these ultra-processed things, go in full.
Yes.
And that's, it's like when you go to a holiday party or a celebration where it might not be food that's really feeds your brain and your gut, you might decide that you're going to indulge a little, but going in more full and hydrated is really super important.
Yes. And alcohol is it's a big detriment for our brain and for our gut as well. And I love that there is a trend now on the mocktails. I mean, some of them have a lot of sugar. There are a lot of young people that are moving away from drinking alcohol, and this is a great thing. And the alternatives are really good.
Yeah, there are some really good alternatives, but just as you said, excess sugar and added sugar, especially the trap of the sugary beverages. I actually heard, and I think I mentioned this before, but I heard at a sports event. I'm a mom, and I was sitting in the fan stand, and I had a mother behind me, and the kid came and said, "Mom, I'm thirsty," and she said, "Go have water," and he said, that's so boring. So the trend, and he went and got a Gatorade, but the trend of needing something, I think that's something we really need to rethink, because if we look at the sugar consumption and the additives in the beverages, and just by making that change, we can have a tremendously positive impact on our gut. And
I've seen people that the only thing they stop is their sodas.
Oh yeah.
And they lose weight right away.
I know.
Yes, and they don't do it cold turkey because you're used to a certain level, but they do it gradually. And then what did you do? I just stopped the sodas. Mm-hmm. It's very interesting.
Unnecessary antibiotic use. I know that you obviously as a doctor have circumstances where it's necessary to prescribe antibiotics.
I insist sometimes, and I try not to, but there's sometimes that I am the one that insists. No, we need it. We're not going to wait on this.
But that's not true with all medical professionals. And there are so many people out there that the solution that they have is to go on an antibiotic. And we need to be mindful that they're so powerful and really important when they're needed, but not always needed. Sometimes our body is capable of fighting a cold.
And the other thing is that when we eat meats, many times you're eating the antibiotic that was given to that animal. And sometimes that's part of the reason why we have a lot of resistance to antibiotic in our bodies, and UTIs too.
Well, and that's a really interesting point, that this could even be another layer of the conversation, that when we're consuming animal products, unbeknownst to us, we are consuming so many other things beyond we're consuming what that animal has eaten. Now, your choice to consume animal products is obviously yours, but being mindful of the sourcing and what these animals have consumed is super important for your long-term health and your gut health as well. And the last thing that's really hard on your gut, and I think we don't think of the two together necessarily, is inactivity. So movement, move your body to move your mind, move your body to move your bowels, and movement is so important for longevity and gut health.
I love what Dr. Dean Shersai says all the time: strong legs, strong brain, because having strong muscles, especially in your legs, it's beneficial to prevent brain decline. So it's very, very powerful thing.
Yeah. So we're moving on to our rapid fire. So we're almost wrapping up here. Our rapid fire: truth, fact, or fiction. So I'm going to say some facts or fiction. Animal protein is the only route to strength. False. That's false. Plant protein provides amino acid too when intake is diverse and strategic. Yes. So we need to remember that it is about being smart in what you're consuming.
Variety again.
Yes.
Exactly. And this is when it becomes important, because a lot of people think that animals are the only true protein, and plants have all the amino acids, but you have to have variety. And this is where it's important. As
we said, we are not we are a fiber deficient nation and not a protein deficient nation. So while the conversation is an important one when it comes to protein, and there are certain populations that certainly need protein more so, without activity protein, without actually moving your body, protein doesn't have the same capabilities. But then in addition to it, we need to sort of rethink that idea of protein. So plant protein is amazing. So carbohydrates are bad. Fact or fiction?
Fiction.
Yeah. I mean, it's like a conversation that should be done by now, but sometimes it doesn't seem to be. And with our new food pyramid, going back to that, there's less of a focus on the complex carbs. Yes. And those are so important.
It's not all carbohydrates are created equal. And that's the problem. You can't compare complex carbohydrates with with the ones that have been stripped of all the goodness.
Right, white rice and brown rice, totally different. You know, this is a beautiful carbohydrate here.
Yes.
A vegetable, but also really a carbohydrate.
This has carbohydrates too.
Exactly.
And protein.
Yes.
And fiber.
And so, you know, you think about understanding what carbohydrates are and the difference between good and bad. That's really important. So if something says natural, healthy, or vegan, then it's an immediate go-to.
You need to run from it.
False. So there's so much deception when it comes to labeling, and we need to be really mindful about what we're doing, how we're perceiving these labels.
Yes.
Because the healthy, the vegan, even if it has an organic label
It doesn't
on
matter what it says.
Oh, turn it around.
Yes.
Look at the label. And how many ingredients does it have? How many additives that you can't pronounce?
How much salt?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
And the label tells the truth faster than anything else. But reaching for the outside of the perimeter of the grocery store, which is typically where the fresh items are, that's the easiest thing.
Yes,
So
you start from there.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so your weekly challenge, or your challenge after listening to this, is can you go to the grocery store or the farmer's market and gather that diversity in your cart or your basket, but be playful with it.
Yeah.
And be joyful.
And we forgot white
Oh,
vegetables.
yes.
You know, like cauliflower.
Parsnips.
Oh, garlic. What is the other one that I was thinking? Anyways.
Kohlrabi.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Potatoes.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
They're really good too.
jicama. I love
Oh,
jicama.
jicama.
Yes. So if you haven't had jicama, it's amazing.
But that's how it's cool. I mean, especially with the kids. This week we're gonna try new orange vegetable. You know, whatever is in season, because it's cheaper to try out, and you don't buy a lot. You buy just one piece, and then you roast it, or roasting is usually you can do it for most things. And then just give it a try and see.
And I think that misconception that you have to be wealthy and in order to do this, that this is something that's a luxury only for those who have a crazy disposable income. Not true. A plant-forward diet is cheaper than an animal-forward diet. And when you start to add up the cost of those processed foods, they do certainly add up.
And then you can start planting,
yeah.
growing your own food, and then it's so rewarding. I started doing that recently, and it's the coolest thing, because I kill all plants that came in my sight. So it's nice to have that.
So a couple of just different things you can think about. Add one extra plant a day. Rotate your colors.
Or a week.
Yeah.
Whatever. Start anywhere.
Try it a day. One extra plant a day. Just one. And that could be an herb. And rotate your colors. Eat beans. And add fermented foods. We didn't talk as much about fermented foods, but those are tempeh and fermented miso. Don't be mindful not to heat those. Real raw sauerkraut and fermented vegetables. A teeny tiny bit goes a long way.
Yes. You don't need a lot.
And walk after dinner. So that.
Oh goodness, yes. Especially if you're diabetes, you have diabetes, or you're pre-diabetic, you want to do that. You want to help yourself by doing that. It's so simple.
Yeah, and then one thing that, without going too much into detail, that I do think we want to mention is that we hear a lot of, especially when it comes to labeling, about probiotics. People are taking probiotics. Well, food have probiotics. We don't talk enough about prebiotics. Now, obviously, this could be a conversation, much deeper conversation. But just to mention some of the foods that are prebiotic that feed those bacteria that's already in our gut. That's what that is. Garlic, lentils, sauerkraut, which is kimchi. That's the fermented foods. Onions, asparagus, tempeh, all of those are relatively inexpensive and easy to add to your simple when you get your mind around it to add.
Yes.
Nothing is easy if you don't really put your mind around it.
Yes, exactly. Planning. Okay, I want to try this. Just be curious. I always like to be curious and let me see what happens.
Yeah,
The worst thing that can happen is that, you spend some money buying that and you hate it. but then you move to the next.
Well, and that's the nice thing about having a neighbor or a friend that you can share something with.
Yes.
Or
Yeah,
a spouse, right? Or a spouse. What you love might not be what your spouse or your significant other loves, and so you can say, "This is for you."
I made this for you.
Exactly. So one more color, one smarter choice, one calmer meal, one more malt walk, one little step to make huge progress.
Yes.
Anything else, Dr. Yolanda, that you'd like to share?
No, this is perfect. And again, be curious, try, experiment, and be kind to yourself. Like, you can do it. Anybody can do it. You just have to be trying to do it, wanting to do it. Nobody can do it if you don't want to.
Well, and so that concludes this episode of Taste the Rainbow. If you like this content and want to learn more, you can check out the show notes to find out how to become a part of our community, join our newsletter, watch our other podcasts, and learn what's happening in Purpose in Plants, which is our passion project together. So once again, this was another episode of The Compass Method, and I'm Chelsea Dye.
And Dr. Yolanda Rivera-Caudill, thanks for joining us. And if you know somebody that needs this, please share it with them. They might benefit.
Yeah.
And thank you.
Cheers.